So by now, you've probably figured out that you can farm the jungle, you can farm lane creeps, you can go around the map, and you can get souls in many different ways. But you're left wondering, what's the most optimal way to get the most souls per minute? Well, this video aims to answer that. In this video, we're going to cover all the different sources of souls and their respective values, how many souls are available on each area of the map, how to farm efficiently. We're going to talk about the concept of map pressure, who should be clearing the jungle, how to get better at farming, some benchmarks so that you can keep track of your performance, and then we'll move on to the conclusions. Hope you guys enjoy. For those that don't know me, I'm Deathy. I'm a competitive FPS/MOBA games player for over a decade now. I want to take you through everything that you need to know about farming in Deadlock as far as we know at the moment. Let's start with all the different sources of souls available as well as their respective values. So to get souls, there are a few different sources available. The first and most obvious is lane creeps. After lane creeps, you have obviously jungle creeps. After jungle creeps, there are buildings such as guardians, walkers, shrines, etc. And after those, there are the other sources, for example, boxes, which also contain souls. Now, all of these sources of souls scale with the game duration. For example, at 6 minutes, a creep is worth 82 souls. When I'm referring to creep, I also mean trooper. However, later into the game, it'll be worth more souls, and this is based on a formula that takes into account the game time in-game. This formula applies to lane creeps, it applies to jungle creeps, and it also applies to boxes, meaning that there's only one static source of souls, and that is buildings. No matter when you kill buildings, they will always give you the same amount of souls. Let's go over the numbers. Troopers actually have two kinds of soul scaling. For the first 10 minutes of the game, they scale by 1 per minute with a base soul count of 76, and after 10 minutes, they instantly jump to a 104 base soul count with a scaling of 2 per extra minute after the 10 minutes. To illustrate, at 10 minutes, a creep is worth 104 souls, and at 20 minutes, a creep is worth 124 souls. Boxes, on the other hand, spawn at 3 minutes, and at 3 minutes they give you 45 souls, and then they scale, according to my testing, by 2.66 souls per minute. Small neutral creeps spawn at 2 minutes and respawn every 4 minutes from then on. They start with 44 souls and 0.5 souls per minute, meaning that at 10 minutes, they'll give you a total of 49 souls per creep. Medium neutral creeps spawn at 7 minutes and take 6 minutes to respawn. They give you an 88 base soul count as well as 1 extra soul per minute, meaning at 10 minutes, they'll give you a total of 99 souls per creep. Large neutral creeps start at 220 base souls plus 2.64 souls per minute rounded down. This means that at 10 minutes, they'll give you a total of 220 plus 2.64 times 10, which equals 246.4, which will be rounded down, so 246 each. The Sinner's Sacrifices spawn at 10 minutes, take 5 minutes to respawn, and give you a base bounty of 300 souls plus 3 per minute. This means that at 10 minutes, the Sinner's Sacrifice will give you a total of 330 souls. The last source of souls is buildings. With the buildings that I've tested, I've come to a few different conclusions. Conclusion number 1 is that denied souls are not shared across the enemy team. However, when you kill a building, when your team kills a building, these souls are always shared to your entire team, meaning everyone gets the same amount. The base amount and the deniable amount vary by type of building. For Guardians, they give 125 base souls and 150 deniable souls, for a total of 275 souls per person. This means when you take a Guardian, if none of the souls are denied, your team effectively gains 1,375 souls. For Walkers, they give 250 base souls and then 500 deniable souls, meaning that if you get every single soul, you get a total of 750 souls or 3,750 for your entire team. Shrines give 500 souls and they are not deniable. Base Guardians do not give any souls upon taking. Now that we've talked about the respective values of each creeps jungle creeps, etc., I want to show you a visual representation of how many souls are available in the jungle at the 10-minute mark. Since the souls are dynamic, I chose the 10-minute mark because it's a decent representation of when a lot of players will be farming the jungle. However, know that this amount of souls scales with game duration. The percentages and relation to one another won't change. So I still think that this is very relevant information. So looking at this map, I only filled out half of the map because it's just mirrored on the other side. So the main takeaway to take from this is that there's one side of the map that has significantly more jungle farm than the other side. On the right side in this picture, which happens to be the side where you have the basement jungle camp, you have a total of 5,210 souls available at 10 minutes. On the left side of the map, which is the one without the jungle camp, you have access to a total of 3,978 souls. This is a very significant soul discrepancy with a total of 1,200 souls. I don't think that there's been significant meta changes related to the soul discrepancy yet. However, I would like to give you guys the information and see how the meta develops around it. Some ideas might be to perhaps be more aggressive and try to steal more of the enemy jungle on the side that has more souls early on. Now that we've gotten the numbers out of the way, let's talk about farming efficiently. You may have seen some of the other farming videos, for example, Ronald's video or some others, and in a lot of them, they talk about farming the jungle as soon as you can. I want to talk about how you can efficiently farm the jungle. This varies by hero, with your kit, with your items, etc. So there's not one very specific way, but here's a few tips. The first thing about farming efficiently is understanding what you need to get to farm the jungle. For example, on a hero like Wraith, that may be obtaining the item Tesla bullets, which will allow you to farm the jungle. On a hero like Haze, it might be the same thing. Or let's say you're going for a ricochet rush, maybe that's when you'll go to the jungle. At the end of the day, there is no definite answer for when you should go to the jungle or if you should go to the jungle. For example, certain heroes want to be very active, like Lash, and Lash just wants to farm the jungle as he's moving around the map. I would say that the other most important thing to keep in mind when you're farming efficiently is to always farm things on your way. So when you're moving between lanes, shove a lane and then go farm the jungle camps nearby. Always be doing something on the map. If there are no jungle camps and no lanes, go farm boxes. There are tons of boxes that are on the rooftops right now. You can take advantage of that. There's also a lot of boxes underneath near the shop area if you go in that tunnel, and you can get a decent amount of farm there as well. Always be thinking about, is there something that I could be farming on the map, regardless of what that thing is. At the moment, there are no official jungle paths, as I've been asked to make videos about. However, I would say that with the map that I've provided you, with all the soul values, you can fairly easily figure out what is worth the most amount of souls and where you should be going. However, since this is such a dynamic game, the most efficient path is always going to be the one that takes you to the most lanes as well as other objectives. So, usually, you want to prioritize farming lanes first because they give you, on average, more souls than jungles. This, however, depends on which character you're playing, because some characters can clear the jungle so fast that they're actually better off farming the jungle compared to farming creep waves. One of these examples would be Seven, who can clear the jungle at a very, very fast pace, meaning that he's able to clear 2 to 3 jungle camps in the time that it would have taken for one wave to spawn. However, another thing to keep in mind is that waves are temporary, meaning that if you don't kill them then and there, your creeps will kill them and you will get no value from them. This means that someone should always be farming the creeps when possible. Your jungle creeps aren't going to go away anytime soon. However, you do want to kill them as fast as possible because you want to get the respawn timer started. Let's talk about the concept of map pressure. Map pressure is incredibly important in farming in Deadlock because it's what allows you to be able to successfully get ahead. Map pressure is the concept that you have creeps on their side of the map, or that you're farming on their side of the map, or that you just generally have better map control. This can be achieved in a lot of different ways, but the most standard way is to push the waves. Pushing creep waves allows you to gain informational advantage. What I mean by this is that if you're pushing all the creep waves towards their walkers, this means that they'll have to deal with it. If they don't kill those creeps, their walkers will die. This means that some of their heroes will have to show up on these creep waves, and if they do show up, you get the information of where they are. This allows you to play on other places of the map or take fights with numbers advantage because you have more data than they do. If they have to deal with waves, you don't have to show on waves, you can farm the jungle, and they don't necessarily know where you are at the moment. The second important concept about pressuring the map is that since jungle does not disappear, it is much more efficient to farm their jungle than it is to farm your jungle if you can afford to do that. The reason is because you can always go back on your side of the map and farm your jungle, but you're not always going to be able to farm theirs. Farming theirs is only going to be possible when you have an advantage or you're able to be aggressive on them. So after you want to fight, a great play a lot of the time is to steal their jungle and steal their objectives. So you want to take their towers, but you also want to take their jungle, and you especially want to take the jungle camps that have the most value. If you want to look back at the map, you can see that these are the large jungle camps, also known as Tier 3, as well as the Sinner's Sacrifices, also known as the lottery machines or whatever you want to call them. It's important to not just AFK jungle on your side of the map. One of your heroes can be doing that sometimes, but if everybody does it, you will probably lose the game. How you get ahead in this game is by stealing souls from their side of the map, from their jungle, and doing map pressure in general, shoving waves, taking their jungle. Of course, if you're behind, it is hard to do that. So if you're behind, farming your own jungle may be a wise choice, depending on the situation. I want to talk about how to get better at farming. Getting better at farming is a fairly difficult concept to explain. There's no such thing as, oh, just shoot the creeps better. They're standing still, so you should be hitting all your shots. So it's not so much a mechanical issue as it is a map awareness issue. I would say the biggest tips I have to give to anyone who's trying to get better at farming is that you should be looking for opportunities to farm more all the time. Meaning that when you're clearing the wave, you should always be thinking, okay, after I clear this creep wave, where should I be going? Should I be going to a specific jungle camp? What am I able to farm right now? I would strongly advise people who are playing farming heroes like Seven or Infernus or Haze, etc., to be able to know their timings and know exactly when they can start farming large creep camps, for example. Paying attention to these things and reviewing your games with a critical eye is going to be the best tool to get better at this. Let's talk about some benchmarks. A lot of people ask me, oh, how do I know I'm farming well? What's a good number of souls to have at 10 minutes, at 20 minutes, etc. So let's talk about it. Usually, the souls benchmark that I'll give is if you have under 1,000 souls per minute in a game, you're definitely underfarmed. The longer the game goes, the more souls per minute you should have. So if a game is above 40 minutes, then I would expect you, if you're a farming character, to have over 1,500 souls per minute. If it's a shorter game, 1,000 souls per minute is a decent benchmark to hit. You want to aim higher than that if you can. For the first 10 minutes, if you have something like 800 to 1,000 souls per minute, you're doing fantastic. For the 10 to 20 minute mark, you're going to be doing really well if you're hitting something around 1,500 souls per minute. Anything after that, I think you want to be between 1,500 to 2,000 souls per minute, depending on game state. This is if you're doing really well. These are not passable numbers. These are numbers that I would strive for. So take these numbers with a grain of salt. You may not be able to hit these numbers in every game, and they may be dependent on getting a lot of farm. Let's get into the conclusions. The first conclusion is that creep waves are generally worth more than jungle camps. They are also temporary, meaning that you should always deal with a creep wave if there is one nearby, because the souls will disappear if you don't kill it in that moment. On top of that, they'll usually give you more than one jungle camp would. They're also much easier to kill, so for heroes that can't jungle effectively, creep waves are always going to be your main source of souls. The second takeaway is that there is one side of the map that has many, many more souls than the other side. I would say that if you're playing a farming hero, you may want to prioritize starting on that side when you're going to the jungle. The third takeaway is that it's important to not just jungle without having any impact on the map. You need to have some concept of map pressure in order to be able to farm safely. This means pushing waves, getting information, and pushing your advantage by farming their jungle when you're ahead. The final thing I want to point out is make sure you're always doing something. So many times in my viewers' games, I see them walking around aimlessly, not having an objective in mind. When you're clearing a wave, always think about what is the next thing I can clear on the minimap. Is it a jungle camp? Is it boxes? Is it an objective, etc.? Always be thinking about that, and I'm sure you'll have great success farming. Do not underestimate the strength of boxes. A lot of people don't break them, and if you get quite a few boxes, you can get a good amount of souls from them. That's about it from me. I hope this video was very informational because it actually took quite a bit of research to make. If you guys enjoy this type of content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. Have a wonderful day.